in to Athletics LLC with Lamar, Lucius, Big League Chew, and my man Clyde, and the governor. You're about to be schooled in all things track and field. This is experience. Yes, sir. We are talking past, present, future. Y'all listen up. Let's go.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. We welcome you to this week's edition of the Athletics LLC. We hope everybody has had a very productive week and ready for the typical shenanigans of myself and my three compadres here. Gentlemen, how are we tonight?
Great.
Oh yeah, it's good. Real exciting. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yes.
All right, well, let's jump right in. Someone actually brought this topic to my attention. So let's see what you guys think about this. So looking at the conference realignments and the current success of the Pac-12, which is arguably the best conference in America, with USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon playing at the level they are, and moving to the Big Ten, does the Big Ten now become the most dominant conference in the country moving forward? When you add them to Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, we gotta let Clyde go first, right?
We don't have to, but
We don't have to, no.
Yeah.
Oh no, we definitely have to let Clyde go
Yes,
first.
we have to.
It is definitely possible. When the realignments are done, everybody will start to create their own new narratives around what these conferences ultimately look like and who the power brokers are. The fact of the matter is that from an economic standpoint, the Big Ten runs the NCAA right now. We've talked about this before. LA, Chicago, New York, DC. And if you care about the Pacific Northwest, they have that now too. As far as the quality of football, yeah. I mean, if you add Oregon and Washington and Los Angeles, I'll just throw those teams together. As far as a power at the top goes, the Big Ten should, in theory, be in the driver's seat. I'm very interested to watch how all the teams have to now deal with a new, for whatever you want to call it, travel reality that the Pac-12 has been, dealing with for years. The terrains are different. We've talked about that before. Desert, mountain, cities, Pacific Northwest. You're going to get new dynamics in the Big Ten that they haven't really seen before. I will say this, and I've said this in other conversations, the new Pac-12, former Pac-12 members in the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the ACC are likely to win those conferences before the traditionals do, in my opinion.
Interesting.
So you're saying that one of those four teams is more likely to win the Big Ten before Michigan and Ohio State do? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And I'm also saying that Utah is going to win the Big 12 before the traditional powers in the Big 12 win it.
Interesting.
Okay. I'm definitely writing this down.
Write it down. Take a picture.
I need to take a picture of it. You don't have to get smart now. I'm definitely going to write this down because you'll come back and circle and say it's not exactly what you said. But
No, it's exactly
anyway.
what I said.
Well,
I know. I'm going to make sure I screenshot that too.
But before you get off, let me be very, very clear. The original time that I said this, it was more petty and more specific. The new members, former Pac-12 members, will win a championship before any team from the state of Texas wins one in any conference. Was my original comment.
Okay. So you're backing off what you just said to us?
No.
Okay.
I'm just putting extras on it.
I think that's interesting just because which Pac-12 teams joined the ACC? Cal, Stanford.
Stanford.
It's just them two?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a bold statement for the ACC.
I'm talking about mostly the Big 12 and the Big 10.
Okay.
Like,
I just wanted to help you clarify.
ACC's weird.
Yeah. And
I'm like,
and,
listen,
and
I love
I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna chime in.
Though, sir, you will. I think you might agree with me on this. Cal and Stanford are going to play better football in the ACC than they play in the Pac-12.
I think I said that the first time. Like,
yeah,
I think that I think Cal moving to the ACC and Stanford moving to the ACC helps them a tremendous amount.
Absolutely.
I'll go next. Listen, this is probably going to surprise all of our viewership when I say this, because I know this is going to surprise Sir Lucius. I disagree. And I disagree partly for one of the strength reasons that Clyde mentioned. I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of talented teams in the Big Ten, but I think the travel, especially the West Coast travel, is going to be their bugaboo. But I think if you add Texas and Oklahoma to the current SEC, that kind of tips the apple cart, because the rest of the traditional SEC, they don't have any travel issues. They never have, right? And now you're only adding Texas and Oklahoma, who are very good at football and not real bad travel spots. And hell, I get this weird feeling that a bunch of those games are going to be played neutral sites at AT&T Stadium too.
Jerry's World,
right? Because you can make so much money at that, right? So I as weird as it sounds, like, I think the Big Ten is going to be harder to win because of the travel. And I think adding two, what are they currently both top 6?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Teams to the SEC, it is going to. Here's why: the Big Ten is going to have more depth, but depth kind of isn't going to be as relevant as it is now, because even with 12 spots, that just means that in all likelihood, fewer deserving Big Ten schools and fewer deserving SEC schools are probably going to get in, because even with 12 spots, like, if you still have 5 conferences you have to feed, and if you start out with 12 and all 5 Power 5 conference winners go in, that means you only got 7, right? And you got 7 for basically 5 conferences and at-large bids, and by the time it's all said and done, you're still at most going to end up with like 3 Big Ten teams and like 3 SEC teams. Like, so it's still like the bottom of either of those conferences are really irrelevant now. So I guess what I'm saying is that I think that the SEC is getting just tough enough and not adding as many teams, so not as deep. So I actually think that the balance of power is going to get pushed towards the SEC, because the strength of schedule will still be really tough, but it won't be so tough that you can't go through it undefeated. I think the Big Ten just became impossible to go undefeated in.
Of course. We agree on that 100%.
I mean, impossible is obviously is hyperbole, but man, I'll tell you
Very
what.
much so.
If you listen, I'll just say it like this: if you got to play Michigan, Ohio State, and one of the West Coast teams, and you play 2 of those games on the road, good luck winning those.
Yep.
Right. And nobody, I mean, now that the Pac-12 is blowing itself apart, nobody's going to go through what Washington is going through at the end of the season, where they play, was it 4 top 15 teams in a row or some nonsense?
I think that's Oregon, but yeah, it's brutal.
It's Oregon. And because I know they play SC and Utah and Washington State or something like that, like 3 of their last 4 weeks, and there's a Pac-12 game in there. Like, that's just nobody's gonna have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So, Governor, what you got for us?
So how long has it been since USC, Washington, well, let's just take USC out of it now. How long has it been since we've seen 2 Pac-12 teams at the tippy top, at like doing what Washington and Oregon have done, even with one loss, still managing to maintain their spots, threatening to get into the CFP. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. And there's been coaching changes. There's been, these periods of time that have come and gone. And now you have, I think USC has kind of been exposed, I guess you could say. And, so now you have Washington, Oregon, and now the Pac-12 is sitting there going, okay, let's see who survives this gauntlet that they're dealing with. And you add that to the Big Ten, and strength of schedule, if you're comparing strength of schedule, there is no comparison between the Big Ten schedule and what anyone in the SEC has to deal with. There is no comparison, none whatsoever. I feel like it's much more likely that a Florida or a Tennessee or a Ole Miss or a Kentucky or even an A&M or an LSU goes on a run, gets a good class, and the next thing you know, they're in the top 10 perennially. I mean, it doesn't take much. So to say that the Big Ten is going to be the conference, the top conference going forward, I think the SEC will have something to say about that.
Absolutely. And I think that for me, what I'm excited to see, because there's been this talk for a long time about Pac-12 football, and it's tougher than people give it credit for. Now we're going to find out.
Mm-hmm.
The Pac-12 schools are moving into different leagues, and now we're going to find out just how tough the Pac-12 is.
Yep.
I don't think that those four schools make the Big Ten the best team in the country either. I think Oklahoma and Texas coming into the SEC make the SEC obviously tough as it's ever been, right?
Yeah.
And when like you said, when you look across the SEC and Florida's rebuilding and LSU's rebuilding and Tennessee is there, and trying to climb. Kentucky is there and trying to climb. Obviously the perennials, Alabama's not going anywhere, Georgia's not going anywhere, and
Nope.
and the A&M's kind of on the ledge right now, right? We don't know what they're going to do, but I think at the end of the day, like, the excitement for me and the way I view college football is I really want to see how the Pac teams, 12 teams, fare as they move into these other conferences, because I personally think that it's going to be a lot easier for the traditional Big Ten schools to go west later in the year versus the Pac-12 coming east later in the year. Yeah, a lot easier. Okay. All right, so let's talk start mechanics. There's been a lot of, we're talking dorsiflexion, we're talking arms, we're talking all kind of stuff here lately. So let's have our own little topic here. Let's create some noise and let's talk start mechanics. And I'm gonna let not Marissa Chu, not Big League, go first if he'll unmute himself. And let us know, just give us some things when it comes to the start that you think are important, things that when you're teaching the start, you think are things that are tidbits that you think would help people be successful or better starters. Can you hear us? Not BLC?
Sorry, I was trying to change that while you were talking. I'm not that fast of a typer. This morning at practice, I said to one of the people that I am blessed to be able to coach, that in my coaching career, from my experience, the two hardest things to do in no particular order are create a winning culture and teach acceleration. So I think from the start mechanics, the biggest thing I try to do from the beginning is have agreed upon verbiage, right? Because if you get 8 people who learn to start somewhere else, you're going to have at least 6 different terms for this, that, and the other thing. I'm a huge push from the ground guy. I think it's essential to get the people that you are dealing with to understand the concept of pushing into the ground to displace their centers of mass. Forcing toe drags and lifting knees and all these other wonderful things that I've heard, and I'm sure they work according to this person or that. I just think it confuses the system, the situation. And I deal predominantly with combined eventers who have a million things already on their brain. So I talk about pushing a lot. The only other thing that, because there's a lot for us to discuss, and I don't want to take up everybody's time, but I think the only other thing that I try to make sure that we discuss is lack of tension in shoulders, like letting things swing. I don't know, maybe that's just a combined eventer's like predominant flaw, but we get a lot of shoulders eating heads and a lot of trying to force positions. And I talk a lot about relaxing shoulders, letting hands swing low and long, and just push.
Okay, Governor.
So I mean, it's always a bit shocking for me when we're moving into this time of year and you're taking on a freshman, you're taking on, whether it be a transfer or a freshman, and you're just basically applying the basic concepts of blocks. What are we doing? How are we going to do this? What is the best case for success? And you're going through the checklist and you're getting that glazed over look in their eyes and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, all right. So I always go with the basic start rules. Okay, when you get in the blocks, are you comfortable? Okay, are your shoulders rotating over your hands, or are you in an upright position with your hands in the blocks? When you get up on set, are you feeling both blocks? Are you feeling the actual blocks, or are you away from the blocks? And explaining that, explaining spacing, right? If you're in the right position and you get on the right set position, your start or what should happen is inevitable. And kids are like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, well, it's almost like you're jumping off a moving bus or jumping off a moving train. That first step builds into the next and the next and the next and the next. And for those that are not prepared for it, yes, you will feel like you're falling. But that comes from setting it up, in being in the right position in the blocks and being able to push out and being ready 2 steps ahead, right? The human body is created to not crash and burn. We have built-in mechanisms where if I walk behind you and push you, you're going to stop your fall. So we're guaranteed that first step is going to be there. It's going to be there. What comes next determines your success, determines how much speed you are going to build up in step 3 and 4 and 5. And as you matriculate down the track, are you efficient, right? Are you forcing it, or is it coming at you and you're trying to keep up? So those are the basic things. Like when I'm trying to get an athlete to understand the basic concepts, I start with positions in the blocks, position on set, pushing out, making sure your arms are matching the displacement of your feet. Okay. If you're doing it right, does it feel slow? If it feels slow, you're probably doing it the right way, because the ground contacts are more important. Okay. You've got to attack the ground. That takes time. The upright mechanics comes later on. 0 to 20, 0 to 30, 0 to 40, you are trying to build momentum. And I just keep it at that until they understand that concept. And then we can start messing with, well, this is who you are, this is how long you're going to push, so on and so forth.
All right, Clyde, what do you got?
The governor stole one of my words, efficiency. We are all attempting, or should be attempting, to be as efficient as possible. And when I'm trying to teach these issues to our young people, everybody's body is different.
Mm-hmm.
So there are specifics that need to be dialed in for each person, but the grander things are all in the same house, if that makes sense. You can't override physics.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, we spend a lot of time trying to undo what they think they know about positioning and angles, because the fact of the matter is, until your shins are parallel in the direction you wish to go, your legs ain't gonna move. So your hips aren't gonna move. So we spend a lot of time like literally posing them. Show me the first day we ever do anything in a block. Set your blocks up any day, any way you want.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all look at me like I'm crazy. Like, no, y'all just got here. Just set them up the way you think it is. And I take a picture of their set position. And then we talk about why it's wrong. And then I put them in the position that I want. And they all say that they hate it. I'm like, okay, cool, but this way is going to be faster and I'll prove it to you. Now, how long it takes to prove it to you is up to you. Are you going to trust? Are you going to listen? Are you going to attempt to execute these new and more efficient positions so we can get down the track appropriately far for you and in the right positions to generate the most force for you? So, for me, it's all about angles and getting them to understand the movement patterns that are specific to them that they need to be able to start working towards mastering. I am not in the camp that says get your feet down as quickly as possible and worry about the rest later. That's not. I'm sure there are humans out there that can get away with that. I've never been lucky enough to coach any of them, so we don't spend a lot of time doing that. Like I said, once we have proper angles, then it's about how you're moving and why you're moving the way that you're moving. For me, when my athletes hear me say start, they know I'm talking about the first 3 steps. Anything after that is in the acceleration space, and where it's a different type of conversation. So to the EP's point, I think that verbiage matters, and getting them to understand the concepts that you specifically want to teach absolutely matters. You don't want to confuse people. And then, of course, when you have hurdlers, it's a whole different conversation depending on what type of starts we're discussing. So angles are huge for me, and getting them to conceptualize these specific movement patterns for each individual is where we start. Pun intended.
Right. No, some interesting thoughts there. For me, I don't subscribe to everybody having to have their angles at, the shin angles in the same place, because people have different skill sets and different body types. So I'm one that I try to find the set position for everybody based on who they are and their limb length and all that stuff. The number one thing I try to teach is patience. That I think the greatest attribute of a great starter is patience. Patience doesn't mean slow, but patience does require you to push and push in the right direction. As I always try to convey to my athletes, we're trying to go that way. So we're not trying to go up. We're not trying to drag and create friction. I think some athletes, for some reason, drag naturally, still don't like it, but I still don't teach it, the drag. But I definitely think the word that the governor used that I love is spacing. I think that the correct spacing of the blocks is critical. I believe the acceleration starts from the very first step. It's like I liken it to pushing a car. If anybody's ever pushed a car, you have to push immediately and keep pushing. So if you, for me, the first 4 steps are critical to acceleration. The first 4 steps, in my opinion, greatly affect what happens down the track, because at some point in time, you have to create that momentum. And if you don't create it in steps 1 to 4, then maybe it's going to be 5 to 8 or 9 to 13. But at some point in time, you have to create that. Or at some point in time, you're just going to start to spin because you're running out of gas, right? So I talk a lot about the concept of the initial push being the most important thing in the sprint. If you don't, it's not about, I think that the reaction time is the most overused and over talked about, wasted statistic in the history of track and field. You know,
Absolutely.
because you can react to the gun faster than everybody else, but if you don't put it in the proper space, you don't move in the right direction, it's a useless statistic. So it doesn't really matter, you know. So I think for me, it's about spacing, it's about patience. We work a lot on the first 4 steps. I mean, it's critical. And without the first 4, in my opinion anyway, you just, it's not going to work. Unless you're just better than everybody else, you run them down. But when you get to the big dance, when everybody's good, then you better be what I would like to call an efficient starter. You don't have to be what in the old school was the great starter was the guy that beat everybody in the 20. That's not a great starter.
No.
That's not it.
You're going to lose that race more often than not. Look, it's been a while since we did anything in this space, so let's just go ahead and get into the the fad of the times, or if you will, the toe drag issue. I know we covered this like at some point in year 1, but it's been a while. So here's the thing, and if I remember, there's going to be various opinions on this. Again, I don't like to debate, facts of, the laws that govern the movements of what we all are, here on earth have to agree to. Friction is friction. We all understand that, right? But high heel recovery for me is worse than friction on the ground. So I don't teach toe drags either, unless it's as a teaching tool to get athlete X that has horrific high heel recovery to change their movement pattern. I'll take the toe drag in the short term with, the conversations. I understand, I don't want your toe on the ground, but for right now, I'll take it if we can stop kicking ourselves in the ass coming out the blocks. And so if I care about displacement, which I do, if I care about patience, if I care about efficiency, all those things, which I do, in my experience, it's harder to get those things with super high heel recovery. So me and my crew do not teach toe drags, but I'll take the toe drag over the super high heel recovery.
What I will tell you is, you will be shocked if you go back and really watch a lot of video at the number of high heel recoveries that have run really fast.
I wouldn't be shocked. I've seen it. I get it.
And so I think that the high heel recovery can put you in a position to push. I don't teach the high heel recovery either, but there have been some great, outstanding, especially female sprinters who are very high heel recovery out of the blocks, very high. And I don't know, I've not taken the time to delve into why that is, but I think people would be shocked at the number of people that, especially on the female side, whose heel recovery is not what we would be standard. And there's no way I'm ever taking the toe drag. See, I think the toe drag all started because Bolt did some commercial and he dragged his toe.
Safa Powell.
Safa first.
Powell. Yeah, exactly.
Powell.
Right.
Yeah.
So then Safa drug his toe and he ran sub
And
10
it
a
was a
million
slow
times.
motion, and it was a slow
Exactly.
motion commercial.
Right.
Oh yeah,
A
still a
lot
very,
of
very cool
young-
video. Still a very
Yes.
cool video on YouTube.
No, so
Yeah.
it's outstanding video. But like at the end of the day, like there's no way I'm ever promoting creating friction. And for me, the dragging of a toe, for my sense, totally eliminates 2 or 3 of the first 4 steps. So then that just delays the acceleration. You know, Asafa was a freak of nature. So
Absolutely.
doing what Asafa did is not, you know, I don't coach Asafa, pal. And I don't know.
No, I mean he's
I
far
just-
from the only one. You know, Bolt did do it, and others have done it. But yeah, I get the point.
Special
just wanna-
individuals.
Yeah.
wanna-
Exactly, yeah.
Special individuals.
I
So
want to jump in here real quick.
Go ahead.
And just say this, like, I feel like one of the biggest things that we deal with in teaching starts and acceleration in particular, you guys have all kind of hit on without saying those actual words, right? So for me, I feel like one of the biggest issues we have is video. We have too many people watching too many things with unintelligent eyes,
mhm.
right? So they watch stuff, then they come to practice and they think that that's what they're supposed to be doing, but they have no idea what it is they are watching,
Yeah.
right? Like both knees down,
Mhm.
shoulders out over your hands.
Yeah.
Like there's all of these things, all these fads and they're not even necessarily fads. All of these things have happened. High heel recovery out of females, like all those things, you know, the Aries merit arm.
Oh, that's the best one. That's
Right?
the best fad
everybody-
there has been.
Everybody having to take 7 steps, right? All of it comes from unintelligent eyes. I'm not calling anybody stupid. Unintelligent eyes then trying to replicate what they see or
Mhm.
think they see, or worse, unintelligent.
Did he freeze for everybody?
Yes, he did. He is
to-
frozen.
There he is.
He's back.
He's back.
Your last unintelligent eyes is where you froze.
Yeah, sorry, it says something about the internet thing being unstable. Basically, where the issue comes about is we have unintelligent eyes who then write down what they think they see, and unfortunately, then take that to the track and teach young people.
Yeah.
Yep.
And those people, you know, it's like, look, you can get away with high heel recovery, especially as a female, because you weigh less.
Yeah.
Right? Like at the end of the day, you can push 112 pounds from a million different positions.
Yeah.
But I coach a 215-pound decathlete who I'm trying to get to run 1040 something. He can only push when his whole damn foot and shin and knees are being activated to push, because he weighs too much to push with a high heel recovery, right? But that doesn't mean everybody has to run with low heel recovery, right? It means guys that are built like him do. See, I get that. The people on this screen get that, but not everybody does. And we have so many people who watch films.
Here's the problem with the whole issue here. Like, the idea again is we're trying to go down the track,
Mhm.
and you're frozen again. And
Yes,
so
froze.
exactly. So if we're trying to go down the track, then the idea is to take the foot from the pad and make the foot come forward. You don't have to drag to do that. You don't have to cycle to do that. But the whole key is, if you're wanting to go that way, then you have to push from the front pad, the hips have to go forward, and the back foot needs to come forward. If the back foot cycles, it slows down the motion. If it drags, it slows down the motion. You know, so you know,
So-
again, it's just some people have it's just like anything else in sports. Like, you can't put everybody in the same box, because everybody has a different skill set. You know, all four of us were decent athletes, but we all had 4 different skill sets.
I mean, Sir Lucius, I mean, you of all people could probably write a book on how not to accelerate and run 19.9. You have now, I mean, from all the videos that we've seen in the last 4 years. And I'm not saying that this is not something you taught. This is something you have had to develop over time to get our young man from Liberia to understand basic concepts and also to think ahead. Do not worry. Don't worry about X athlete being ahead of you at 80 meters. Don't worry about that. You need to be in the right position to strike, right? And it takes a lot for a coach that has had tons of success teaching acceleration to take a step back and go, okay, this kid's different. This kid's different, right? Not everybody is going to just understand the concept of low heel recovery. Not every athlete is just going to be able to make that switch.
Circumstances and if it matters.
Who's that? Did someone say that?
No, that's somebody on their phone, I would imagine.
Oh, okay. Okay. So,
I don't know what that was.
so, for all of us that were watching, we're all thinking to ourselves, my gosh, like, what is this kid doing? And then here it comes, right?
See, and the key to that is, he was accelerating.
Yes.
He was accelerating at his own rate.
At his own
right?
rate. Absolutely.
Because like he's been anywhere since he's been on this campus. He's been anywhere from 180 to 210 or 215, right? Oh, absolutely. You remember how big he was his freshman year, right?
Yes.
So like teaching him to accelerate, it was like, look, you can accelerate like this guy over here that weighs 165 pounds, who's 3 inches shorter than you. So you're never, because of your size, because of the way your mass is constructed, going to be the first guy to 10 meters. So you have to stop trying to be. Right. And just understand, like you said, he has to be patient. He has to push, you know. And like if you watch the races, like Joe always reacts with the field. He just doesn't go with the field.
Well, you know what's funny? Joe is a perfect example, and so is Robert Gregory. Perfect example of one of the biggest misnomers we have in our sport, right? People think quick is fast.
Yep. It's not.
And quick and fast are not, they're barely cousins, right? Like, and in most cases, to be fast, you have to maximize ground time, not minimize. Right. And that's the concept that so many people don't get. It's like, what do you mean I need to stay on the ground longer? Well, because in order to exert a certain amount of force, you have to be on the ground a certain amount of time. Right. So like in acceleration, ground time is not even okay, it's necessary. At max velocity, ground time is not your friend.
It's
right?
minimal.
When you're going full speed, I don't want you on the ground very long.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to get to speed, I want you to on the ground as long as you can, because you can push as long as you can.
Yes.
Right? You can't push all the way through to the top of your major trochanter by going quick. Right? If you've ever built anything, the longer stroke you take with a hammer puts more distance of the nail into the board. Right. You can take a bunch of lead like this, right? And eventually the nail goes in. But if you go like this 2 or 3 good times, it's probably flat.
Yep. Okay. So let's move over to the NFL here a little bit. The not BLC's favorite time of year. So we're 6 games into the NFL season. So what teams do you guys like to win the NFC and the AFC at this point of the season? Who do you guys view as your favorites? Okay.
Super Bowl rematch. The 2 best teams in the NFL are standing right where they are. The Eagles are the best team in the NFC, and the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC.
Okay.
I will piggyback off that, and the TV spot, I think it was yesterday, where they were talking about which teams have avoided like the massive failure, which teams have avoided like where did this come from? And so far, Eagles being able to survive that game on Sunday, that was huge. That was big. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, slow and steady. And what's scary about the Chiefs is that they're still figuring out who they are. And that's I love it. I think it's one of the more low-key things that we're seeing because, it's been a bit sensational watching teams get out the gate really fast and then they run into a buzzsaw and you're like, oh, okay, what's going on here? So the consistent teams are the ones I feel are going to be there at the end. Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles.
I would agree that 6 weeks in, it's the Eagles and the Chiefs. So much of what happens in the NFL is about, what injuries you can avoid or not even avoid, who's going to be ready and available come January, right? One of the funnier narratives I felt at the beginning of the year, and on paper, I would say it was true, that the AFC was just so dramatically better than the NFC. And it's not really playing out that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say that if we're talking about potential Super Bowl rematches, I could see that. But if you're telling me that there's an NFC Championship game rematch and Brock Purdy makes it through 4 quarters, I think the Niners beat the Eagles, regardless of where the game is played. So, I guess obviously it'll all shake itself out. Teams that I think are a threat to those people, obviously the 49ers. I don't really believe in Detroit, but they're gutsy enough and their offense is good enough that they could win we could win a game like that. The AFC is just all up in the air. One week Miami looks amazing, the next week they look like Miami. Baltimore is confusing, to say the least. The Browns are not real, but their defense is. The Jets are not real, but their defense is. Right?
Hold on. I'm gonna push pause there. I don't think you can say the Jets are not real. Because if Zach Wilson literally just doesn't turn the ball over,
Mm-hmm.
they can beat anybody because their defense is elite and they have as many weapons. They got more weapons than the Chiefs do.
Sure, but Zach Wilson is Zach Wilson.
So far.
No. We have seen teams before, right? Whose defense have carried them to the Super Bowl.
And not just that, Zach Wilson is not the old Zach Wilson. He has not been, right? So
can Zach Wilson beat Trent Dilfer?
No.
Right. And he's more talented than Trent Dilfer, right?
That's the question.
No, he can't.
Obviously, I'm pulling for the Browns, to do better, and they can't keep Deshaun Watson healthy, get him out of the locker room healthy. So
they seem to play better when he's not playing.
Yeah, I know, which is kind of crazy, but I think for me, I don't see anybody beating the Chiefs. I think that Mr. Hurts has had some up and down times, and as long as he's more up and down, the Eagles are fine. But the down Jalen Hurts he's not taking them to the Super Bowl again. So he's got to be on his P's and Q's, and but I'm just looking forward to some more exciting games. I think the Minnesota story is great. I think Detroit's story is great. I like the Jets. I mean, the Jets, everybody just wrote them off as soon as Rodgers went down. Now, look, I'm not saying that they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I'm also not going to tell you that the Jets are not good, because any team with an elite defense,
absolutely,
with offensive weapons, can figure it out enough to be an issue for anybody anywhere. And the Jets, in my opinion, are that team. And so I know the Browns would take the Jets quarterback right now in a
I mean, think of it like this, right? Look, if you take a 3-game span for the Jets, right? The Jets beat the Bills, beat the Eagles, and almost beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're telling you who they can be.
Mm-hmm.
They're a
Right.
problem.
No, they're telling you who they
problem.
are. Because
Mm-hmm.
the only one they lost to is the team that we don't think anybody's really going to beat when it counts. At least I don't think anyway. I shouldn't say we, but you know.
No, he knows.
The problem you have with trying to the problem you have with trying to beat the Chiefs. I said this for 3 years, right? Is they have the most ways to beat you.
Right.
Like that's the problem, right? Like, I mean, look, Mecole Hardman is not a guy that moves the needle for any other team, right? He played for the Jets and he had 1 catch for 6 yards. He plays for the Chiefs. He goes back to the Chiefs and immediately has a 75-yard punt return and catches 3 balls. Like, look, man, I don't know what it is, but at the end of the day, right? Like, yes, it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid for sure. But at the end of the day, I think the Chiefs are built better with their personnel and system than everybody else. Yeah. Meaning they can beat you the most ways. Yeah. Right. And I think the Eagles are probably second on that list because the Eagles can throw it a lot. Yeah. They probably shouldn't, but they can. They can damn sure run it down your throat. Right. And
especially short yardage.
Oh, I mean, short yardage. Listen, that play is unstoppable because, and it's real. It's why, right? You have a Hall of Fame center. And you have a quarterback that is a fullback from the waist down.
Absolutely.
You're not stopping those 2 dudes from gaining a yard.
No.
And you can push from behind.
So. And you can push from behind.
You can push from behind.
I don't know why people are complaining about that play. Like,
I don't get it either.
It's just
it's legal.
It's football.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do something about it.
Just because it's not pretty doesn't listen. I mean, the Giants got hurt trying that play. Like, this is not one of those everybody can do it. That's why Sirianni said that, right? Like, if everybody could do it, everybody would do it.
Right.
But if we're going to call a spade, like the Eagles could run that play all game and score touchdowns.
Yes.
Because they gain 2 to 5 yards on that stupid play.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like, you have to do what you can with your personnel. There's only one Jalen Hurts, right? There's only one quarterback that deadlifts 650 pounds. So, like, at the end of the day, and he plays behind the best center in football.
Yeah.
That helps.
That always helps.
Okay. All right. So.
Wait, who'd you pick?
He didn't.
I did. I said I agree about the Chiefs and the Eagles. I said that.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember. That's why I asked.
Hey, look. Hey, I'm always rooting for the Browns and the Bengals, but I've been suffering for most of my life. So
I mean, the Bengals are just as talented as they were last year. They're just far more injured.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Until Jolton Joe gets himself together, we got nothing. They as well would take the Jets quarterback. So at this point in time of the season,
I mean, it's being healthy at quarterback is everything.
Yeah. So wrap up question here. What's the most impressive performance you have seen in person by an NCAA track and field athlete during the collegiate season, male and female?
Okay, so I want to make sure that this is not a point of contention. When you're saying during the collegiate season, is that like up to and including only the NCAA championships?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just making sure.
NCAA's conference, pin relays, it doesn't matter.
But no trials or none of that. Gotcha.
No.
Most impressive performance. Oof. I know I'm not going first.
Governor, I think it's your turn to go first.
So I'm gonna start with the female side, and for me, watching Julian Alfred do what she did in Austin was and still resonates in my head. I mean, that was pretty phenomenal. The 100, the 200, the 4x1, and the 4x4. Like
She
any
didn't run the 4x4 in Austin.
She didn't? Oh, okay.
They didn't make the final.
That's
They
right.
didn't make
That's
the
right.
final.
That's
Or
right.
she
That's
was
right,
going
that's right.
to, yes.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry. But still, you cannot understand unless you've actually been in there. The weight on your shoulders. You're at home. NCAA's are on your turf, and it's not that you're running against chump change either. You are lining up against the best in the country, and I mean that was very impressive to me, and an awesome way to culminate her collegiate career. Absolutely.
We'll stay on the female side. We'll stay on the
Yes,
female side.
stay on the female
Okay,
side.
Clyde, who you got?
Seen with our own eyes.
Yes.
NCAA.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be at the meet, but during the NCAA, it could be at a
No,
conference
yeah,
meet.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I got you. When I hear that question, my brain automatically goes to things that I didn't think were possible. So for me, and one of these is absolutely a homer pick, but I didn't think she could pull it off in real time, and I thought I was going to be labeled a fool for letting her attempt it. Pick your NCAA championship, whichever one you think is better. But Vashti Thomas in 2013 indoors was All-American in the long jump, triple jump, 60 hurdles, and won the 200 meters. Outdoors, she was All-American she ran on the 4x1, which we got second. She ran 12:70 in the hurdles, 22:7 in the 200, won the long jump, and got third in the triple jump. She scored 30 plus points in both of those meets and carried our team to NCAA championships for RU. That's still the most impressive thing I've seen from an athlete, and a very, very, very close second to that was what I saw Anna Hall do 2 years ago.
Okay, not BLC.
I'm gonna cheat. I got an indoor and outdoor answer. An indoor answer is Jasmine's long jump, triple jump, double at NCAA indoors 2 years ago. Right? 2 years ago? Was it last year?
Last year.
Yeah, last year indoors. 7 meters.
2023.
7:15.
7 meters and 15 meters by
In Albuquerque?
Yeah.
Yeah.
7 meters and 15 meters by a collegiate female is insane.
That's definitely in my top 3 for sure. That insane.
And then outdoors, it would be easy for me to pick Anna Hall, but I guess I think I'm jaded because I watched her do like the simulation for that in practice twice, and I just was like, well, I know that she can do this. Like I almost wish I hadn't seen it, because then I've been like, oh my God. But because I felt like I had seen it before, like I knew she could do that. And I know this probably at this point in time, the performance themselves are maybe not as impressive, but my freshman year in college, my first time at NCAAs, I watched Dawn Sewell break the collegiate record of the 100, 200, and 4x1. And run on the 4x4, and I'd never seen that before in my life. And so I don't know, maybe it's not the most impressive thing, but it's probably the most memorable for me.
It's all about you. It's right? Impressive to you. It's impressive to you.
Because I was a baby, you know what I mean? Like it was like my first, like welcome to college track. So that'd be my answer on the women's side.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, for me, I'm just going to take Jasmine's triple jump alone. I mean, she's over 15 meters twice. She's 1470, 70 something, 1480 something. Her series was just monstrous. I think of her 6 jumps, 5 of them may be top 10 all time or top 7 all time at the as far as performances. And you know, I mean, it's hard to overlook what Anna did. You know, that was pretty special. And yeah, I'm just gonna stick with those two. It's just those are both very special. So we'll start with not BLC. What do you got for the men?
I'm gonna cheat again and go indoors and out. Indoors was Ashton breaking the world record against a bunch of collegians in the heptathlon, because I just don't. I never got that. I was like, I don't know how he's this good this soon against. It's not nobody's, right? But I mean, no collegians have ever come, like at that point, had ever come anywhere near the world record in the heptathlon. So that's my indoor answer. And it was funny. That was right after Dwight Stone's basically bragging about he was the last collegian to set a world record. And then Bob's your uncle. Outdoors, man. I have to pick one because I refuse to be one of those wafflers. So I'm gonna pick watching Florida run 257 twice. But I will. Listen. I will be lying to you if I didn't tell you that in the moment, like when it happened, watching Leo PR event after event after event, then having to provide the answers to those who didn't know it, that he was about to break the German national record, like that was wild. That was absolutely wild. But to get 4 collegians to run 257 in a prelim is stupid, and to come back and or
258
258 in the prelim, and then 257 in the final.
Yes, sir.
Right. I mean,
yes, sir.
You got people believing that 258 is not fast anymore, which is insane.
I mean,
shut up! Don't you dare say that.
258 I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
Is faster than 99 and a half.
That was Clyde that made the noise. It wasn't me.
All I'm saying is 258.
You said I didn't say a word.
Than 99.5% of the schools in this country. I don't care that you ran it in a prelim. I don't care that you had run 258 before.
The only school that's run that fast is us in Arizona State. So
that's right.
So 258 followed by 257 is just wild.
Okay. All right. Clyde.
X-Man, Sacramento. 100, 400, 4x1, and at the time, the collegiate record in the 4x4. And I'm out.
Yeah.
Dare we say will never be duplicated ever?
No, that will not be duplicated.
Only because the meets are separate. The meets are not combined anymore. There's not enough time.
Yeah.
Not enough time.
So for me, and I don't know how many times or how many people I can effusively talk about this, but what Mr. Quincy Watts did in 1992 in Austin, Texas, still 5 times under 45 seconds in 3 days.
Yeah.
He splits 43.7 in the heats to get him to the final. He runs 43.6 in the final to get them to second. Like, unbelievable. Runs 44 flat in the 400-meter final in 3 days now. In 3 days.
Yeah.
To this day, still, one of the most insane things I've ever seen. You know, that still resonates in my head.
Maybe the most impressive thing I've ever seen indoors was Wallace Spearman running like 20.2 out of lane 3. Like the clock stopped and Eric just went out of the whole building. Like, wow, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then outdoors, I mean, there's 2 things that really just kind of took my breath. One was Rise 400 hurdles, which was just absolutely phenomenal. And then the other was the Clay Taylor duel in the triple jump in Des Moines. You know, that one was just, you know, well, here's 57 feet. Here's 57 feet. Well, here's 58.10 or whatever it was, right? Or 58.8. And then Will responds with a 57.11 to take second, right? So that was great. And then, I mean, I'll tell you something else that was on the women's side that was ultra impressive was Texas's 41.50. My goodness.
Man. Oh man.
That was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
It was smooth. It was easy. It was just, it was nice.
I have two honorable mentions for the men.
Okay.
Jarian Lawson's 100-200 long jump, NCAA's was crazy, and definitely unexpected. I mean, I know everybody thought that he would be in the mix for each event, but to win all three was extra. And then for me, I don't think this particular one gets the respect that it's due because the wind didn't cooperate. But Andre DeGrasse utterly dominated the 100 and 200 meter fields that year, like blew them away.
Yeah,
and the wind was just enough for it not to be remembered. But had those times held up, man,
unbelievable.
Right. I know the win in the 200 was big. Like it was like 4 point or something crazy. Yeah,
I think it was like 3-2, but still, but like no one.
It was a big win.
He blew out the field, and then you saw 1974, and it was like, wait, what? What just happened?
Yeah, wasn't it faster than that?
I think it was 71, wasn't it? It was something stupid.
What year was that?
Fifth.
Is that 15? Yeah, because it was the world champs here. Yep.
Okay.
I want to know, Sir Lucius, what went through your mind when Dix did what he did on your track?
Dude, it's the same thing. Like Willie Perry runs 20.50 and the dude beat him almost a second.
Yeah.
Right? He's just out there in lane 8, and you know Walt just had just gears, right?
Yes.
So he comes off the turn and he's like a little bit ahead. It was like somebody told everybody else to stop. He just ran off and left them. Like, that was another thing where everybody in the like when the time flashed up, we were like, "Are you kidding me?"
We were all just like, "Oh my goodness, this is."
See, there was a time when both the collegiate records in the 200 had been set on the Florida track.
No, wait a minute. I pulled out my best governor and was quick with this. No, I was right, and this is why it's always stuck with me. Andre DeGrasse ran 975 at NCAA's with a 2.7, and the 200 was 2.4.
Wow,
1958. 1958. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you're right on that one. Yeah, and he beat Dedrick Dukes and Trayvon Burmell by almost 0.3 of a second.
Like blew him out.
Yeah.
So, what's funny is like, we joke about like, did Wilt's 100 points ever happen? Because like, no, there's no video proof. There's just a picture. Well, so there's video proof somewhere, but I think the craziest thing I've seen happen at a collegiate meet that shouldn't have happened in the meet it happened in is the still standing collegiate record in the men's javelin. Because Patrick Bourdain threw the collegiate record in the javelin in like a 3-way meet between Texas, Indiana, and somebody else on like a now non-existent backfield in Texas. You know what I mean? Like there's like 3 people who have video of this.
It's essentially a jogging trail now.
Yeah.
The other side of the street from the football stadium. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And like that, like, at one point in time, obviously I wasn't around to see this, but like the dual meet record for the 5K, Rono set in a dual meet between Washington State and Cal at like 13:05 or some nonsense. Like I think it was the world record at the time.
Yeah, it was.
Right? It's like, who is breaking world records in dual meet?
But you didn't see that, did you?
No, that's what I said. I didn't see it. I was just saying, like, these are crazy. I didn't see the javelin one either. I saw the video. I saw the video immediately. Right?
So you're violating the question, then, aren't you?
I was just adding things for our wonderful fans to go and look for. I specifically said I didn't see these things. but
He's
they
just
should
going
Going
above
around the
and
corner.
beyond, Sir Lucius.
He's
He's the
going
gift
around
that
the corner
keeps
to
on
Aunt
giving.
Carolyn's house
I'm
again.
not going around the corner. I'm trying to help our viewers.
Jeez.
This is
All right,
not.
so
you
we're
know,
going to close the show tonight with a question and answer session with the governor.
Oh boy,
Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready.
Sure.
I'm sure.
Okay. All right. So, who was your childhood celebrity crush?
How many does he get to name?
I was about to
Just
say
one. Just one.
Lark Voorhees.
Come on, Governor. You said
Oh
you were
yeah,
ready.
from my living room in the Cayman Islands. Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh.
What's Tootie's real name?
Easy, easy. Oh,
See, I know this is easy for you because we're the same age.
golly.
Oh,
Oh man. Boy, the
He wasn't ready, was he, Clyde?
I was not ready for that.
he was not
I
ready.
was not ready for that.
Look, we do need to stop the show at some point, so we need an answer.
Yes. So let's just say Janet on Good Times.
Okay.
That boy aged himself right there.
Hey,
Okay.
hey.
What is the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Oh, I know this answer.
Oh my.
And Chuck, if it's the answer, I think you'll love this because it's insanely petty.
The biggest risk you've ever taken. And you quit trying to prompt him to tell him what the answer. You be quiet over there.
I'm curious to know what he has to say.
We'll talk about that later. But what's the biggest risk? It doesn't have to be anything insane. It could just be something that it could be something you did financially. It could be buying a house. It could be buying a car. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken in your life?
This house we live in now.
Okay. Everybody else remind me to never let the governor play this game again. What's the best compliment you ever gotten?
Every time Mike Powell sees me, he tells me that I should be the owner of the world record.
Wow, that is a great compliment.
And he will say it to anyone around, and it's like, okay, dude, okay, all right, okay.
Rub it in.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the worst piece of advice you've ever gotten? The worst piece of advice you've ever gotten?
Don't have kids.
Okay. Who would you like to be stranded on a desert island with?
There's only one appropriate answer for this question.
I mean, right? Is she home?
My beautiful wife.
My man.
Who watches the show.
Okay. Tell me one person who you would like to trade places with for a day.
Chris Rock slapped the shit out of Will.
I would love to see what a day in the life is like being Michael Jordan.
Oh. What never fails to make you laugh?
So not BLC will remember this. Do you remember the video of the karate guy doing the backflip that hits his head? It was like one of the first like viral videos. I can watch that video. This happened 20 years ago. It must be 20 years ago now. Every single, and he hits his head, so he's dazed, and he gets up, and he's got his nunchucks, and he falls out of the screen.
All that's missing is the birds tweeting around his head. That's all that's missing.
All right. Tell us something we don't know about you.
I am extremely scared of snakes.
Okay.
Oh, you should never have told me that.
What is your guilty pleasure?
Cinnamon rolls. It's
Okay.
almost like if I go to a new city, I'm going to try and see where I can find one just to say, yeah, so.
Okay. Tell us something you wish you were better at.
Oh, maybe what? I can't, okay. It's more like I wish I had tried to be better at it. And that's sprinting.
Okay, so you wish you were a better sprinter.
Yes.
I'm so mad that's your answer. Like,
Okay,
I want to fight you for that being your answer.
Okay, so we're gonna let you fight him later. And so what I want to say here is that as we do this moving forward, I'm going to encourage other people on the panel to be a little quicker with their answers than the governor was, because
Hey, bro. Hey.
that was painfully
Sir, as our current stand-in as host, you fumbled that bag. You should have started elsewhere.
I mean, I didn't, because I started with the guy who I thought would just roll it off the tongue.
No,
That's not him. He's the methodical thinker.
Exactly.
That ain't him.
Wow. Well, I figured obviously I chose wrong, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes next week with a different batch of people questions. But anyway, that is the wrap up for this week's edition of the LLC. We hope everybody's week has gotten off to, and it's continued to be great. And we will see you guys again in 7 days. Everybody say hello to the little man.
Hey.
I vote that you take those questions and do it like inside the actor studio and just ask those questions every time, because the questions weren't bad.
No, those are some really good ones. You got me for sure.
All right, I'll think about that.
Agreed.
All right. Later, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Say something, baby boy. Say something. Give me one word. Say something.
When the lights come on, the roads get to running. When the lights come on, opponents mess the plumbing. Heard you like it warm, hot, knife the butter. Truth pin them hard, knock them off that rebuttal. Tsunami, tidal wave to your puddle. Tough love, punch you in the arms, little brothers. Athletics, LLC, there's no others. Track the fields, pacing with pill to go further. Hey, Wile E. Coyote, it's road runners. Feels like you know us, you've been with us the whole summer. If not for this quarantine, these four corners wouldn't be here, but we here, so start learning. You gotta earn your stripes, gotta get your scars. Show you how to fight, but show us who you are. You lack experience, but still you wanna talk. And who is actually talking to you? Circle's kinda small. Heads prevail when the backbone's strong. Gotta keep it coming, no, it won't last long. Pass and fail, then sell the sad song. And if you don't check yourself, then that's wrong. Just trying to give you the real that you asked for. So why you keep cutting us off to ask more? We put it in slow-mo, but you fast forward. Athletics, LLC, the task force.